Hi, Mel.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
It's my pleasure.
For meeting me.
I love to support women.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about your, I wanted to say your childhood, but every time I meet you, you are so confident. Were you always that confident?
Absolutely not, but I do think that my energy, my confidence, my charisma is a family heirloom. My mom's from Papua New Guinea, and I was born in Papua New Guinea, and my grandfather was the warrior chief of the village. And he died when I was quite young, but I always remember him having this potent energy. Like, I remember the energy in the room would shift when he walked in. And my mom had the same thing. Like, she was his little protege. You know, she was the oldest woman, and when he passed away, he passed down all his spells, because my family practiced in black magic to her. Because even though she wasn't the oldest in the family, but she had the same kind of essence and presence as him. And as a child, I used to actually despise her for it. I felt like it was annoying. I judged it because I didn't see it anywhere else in this society. But now as a woman, I can see that, like, she was the original performer, the original baddie. You know, she was always the loudest in the room, always the most charismatic, always, you know, the one making everybody laugh. But also, like, when she would get wild, everybody was afraid of her. Like, the energy I carry is part of my Papua New Guinean family's heritage. Yeah.
Your grandfather passed all his heritage to her. So, because usually that would be to a man, right?
Yeah, the oldest son.
Yes.
Because she had the same spirit as him, you know.
Isn't it amazing?
She was just as powerful, just as bold. She was always like his right-hand man. Yeah.
Have you ever practiced black magic?
I personally have not. However, I've experienced a lot of things growing up with my mum. You know, okay, do you want to hear an interesting story?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a little sister. She was born on the 9th of February in Papua New Guinea. And when she was born, they were triplets. And the youngest was a boy, and he died on the 14th of February, which was yesterday. Yesterday? No, the day before yesterday. Today's the 16th, on Valentine's Day. And my mum's birthday is the 15th of February. So he died because the doctors gave him the wrong blood. And then 4 years later, on the same day, the 14th of February, the younger girl died. So there's only one left. So they died on the same day, 4 years apart, a day before my mum's birthday. And that's because my mum says that there's a lot of curses on her family because my grandfather was the warrior chief, so he made a lot of choices that people didn't like. And growing up, I experienced lots of supernatural things that are just so unexplainable. Like, we could have a whole podcast on my supernatural experiences with my Papua New Guinean family. So yeah, I personally have not practiced it myself, but I feel it and I've experienced it. And I actually feel a lot of powerful energy in my body.
Yeah, I mean, everyone can.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't practice black magic, but I definitely practice spirituality. And I really believe in manifesting. I believe in energy. And I've seen for myself the evidence to prove that I can do that strongly and that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do practice it in my own way, in my own body.
Do you have the board?
Yes, I have a manifestation board. Every morning when I wake up, I say the things out loud that I want to manifest. And I'm also always in conversation with myself, my spirit, my guardians, my ancestors, especially becoming a woman. Yeah, that's something that's really important to me and that I practice a lot.
I want to ask you about you're becoming an actress, and your experience at WAAPA.
Yes.
Because I know it's such a big acting school. How did you get in? Like, how did you audition?
Okay.
What was that process? And
stunning. Rewind. When I graduated from high school, I did arts at James Cook University in Townsville.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did theatre and theatre history and acting, but I had just left home. I was 18. I was wild. I was working a club every night, partying every night, and going to uni every day.
It's still wild. I don't think anything changed.
Nothing's changed. But the thing is, now I'm more responsible.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out because I wasn't focused.
Yeah.
I got into a relationship and I moved to Melbourne for 2 years. And that whole time, all I could think about was that I wanted to do acting. I don't know why. It was just something so strong in my body. And in high school, I was so good at drama and English. I was really, really good at those two things. And I just decided in my mind I wanted to be a performer. And I started doing little classes in Melbourne. And I auditioned. And it was the second year I auditioned for WAAPA, I got in. And yeah, it was.
So it wasn't the first year?
No, not the first year.
Okay.
I think because I was very egotistical. Like, you know, most young people, I'm sure you notice now when you talk to like 21, 22, 23-year-olds, they're so egocentric.
It's beautiful. I read my letter to someone when I was 21, an email, and it was just so confident and so like full on. And I'm like, I love this energy.
Yes.
I read my own letter. Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So the first year that I tried out, the ego overdrove anything else. I was just like, of course I'm going to get in. I'm amazing. But then the second time I tried out, I really humbled myself and I was like, you know what? I actually need to understand that I'm not amazing at this and I have to try and get better at it. So I went to some classes and yeah, I got in. WAAPA was a wild ride because when I went, everybody that went was like upper middle class, you know, and obviously I came from a very low socioeconomic background. I came from intense childhood trauma. You know, I had this whole history of violence and abuse that nobody else in my class had. So it was very jarring for me and isolating, but luckily enough, I had these amazing teachers who told me that that story, that history was fuel for me as an artist. And I didn't understand it at the time. They were just words to me, you know. But now that I've experienced life, I can see how they were absolutely right. It was really, really, really hard. WAAPA was so hard for me. I don't even know how I got through it because when I was there, my bulimia developed intensely. You know, and because I felt so displaced within this group of people who are all upper middle class white people, I feel like it just exacerbated it. But I did amazing. Like I got really good marks. Did great performances. I often think about myself at WAAPA and just like, I cry for that girl and I'm so amazed at her. I'm so proud of her. Like, she did amazing. She did. Despite the pain. You know, the whole time I was at WAAPA, there was only 1 week that I didn't binge and purge. Yeah, it was very intense, but also it was so necessary for my healing and my development into a performer because there was so much work to do with the voice and the body and reconnection. And they say that healing is reconnecting, you know. Trauma is disconnection. Right. So you're in your mind, you're in your fear thoughts. So when I look back now, that was over 10 years ago. That was the initial phases of my healing, was connecting to my voice and it's like full resonance. And connecting to my body and its strength and feeling my body, you know. We did voice and movement every day for 3 years.
The only note I always get, the only note is my voice, my voice. And that's why, you know, when you said before we were setting up about, you know, how you're so loud, I'm like, my God, this is so beautiful.
Every day for 3 years, you have to do vocal warm-ups. You have to connect to your breath. Like, it is a gift as a performer. It really is. To just be able to speak and know that you can command each word because you own your voice. Yeah.
Did you feel supported there?
Not really. No. I was just like treading water. Surviving. I was surviving.
Do you think it was because, like, how you came in there, or because the people therefore they were not ready for you or something?
I think it was everything. I think it was a group of young people who all had these fantasies of being a famous performer, all had immense egos, all didn't know themselves. And also just like the political and social climate of Australia at that time, you know, it wasn't inclusive. It wasn't talking about institutionalized racism, systematic racism. It wasn't talking about, you know, this kind of soft-core racism that's so accepted in society. So people were often very racist to me without my knowledge or theirs, because it was ingrained. You know, and I always felt otherized. But because I have my mother's spirit and my grandfather's warrior spirit, you know, I've always been a fighter. So yeah, no matter what I've done in my life, I've had the gift of that energy to propel me.
Being so strong, does it help you make friends?
Yes.
Yes. Did you have friends in WAAPA?
You know what? I've always been charismatic.
Yeah.
So people always like me straight away. So I think I had a lot of friends, but not in the way that I know now, not in the intimacy that I need now. Because for me now that I understand myself and understand relationships, intimacy and friendship is so important. Like, I want to feel safe with you. I want you to feel safe with me. I'm going to accept you for all your ugly, and I need you to do the same for me. But at that time, you know, I did have friends as far as I understood what friendship was, which was that, like, they think I'm cool, I think they're cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't, there was nothing deep, nothing like, no anchor.
I guess it's like I went to study philosophy when I was
cool.
when I was 17. I got a scholarship in Russia.
Wow.
And I now know that when you're 17, you don't know shit, right? You're such a baby. And it's like they probably also didn't know.
Yes.
And yeah.
But the amazing thing is, young people these days, they do know.
Yeah, it's different.
Because it's part of the culture, it's part of the pop culture, you know, spirituality, trauma, energy, vibration. Yeah. But our generations and the generation before us had to do all that groundwork so they could have this awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the spiritual journey.
Yeah.
I asked you before about therapy and your relationship with that, and can you just please tell me your healing journey?
Absolutely. So I've had 3 experiences with therapists, and they were all when I was the most broken. So at WAAPA, I was just so desperate for help. And I went and saw a female therapist, and she was young, she was white Australian. And as I started to talk to her about my life story, tell her about the abuse from my family, like my mom and dad were very physically and emotionally abusive because their parents were, like I said, like my grandfather was a warrior chief. So he was the most renowned violent man in his village, in his territory. So that's the only way my mom knew how to operate within relationship is with violence. Like I would go to school with black eyes, you know. And as I was telling this young therapist, I could see her demeanor change, like she was judging me. And then I felt within the relationship that there wasn't an acceptance, that she was kind of, I think she was obviously very young at the beginning of her career, but immediately I felt unsafe.
But it's like judging you for what? Like,
just like,
isn't it insane how that person's supposed to be the most supportive, right? Because you go to them telling, I mean, it's a doctor, right? They're supposed to help you.
And in a lot of my studies that, you know, I told you I'm obsessed with learning about, you know, psychology, psychotherapy. They say that the best therapists have to meet the patient by empathizing, by opening their heart and feeling what they're feeling. There has to be a level of that where they take on some of what they're feeling, and that's holding space, and that makes people feel safe. But now with my understanding, I can see that she didn't know how to hold space for me. She didn't know how to make me feel safe, because within her own body, she wasn't opening up to my experience. And then the second experience just ruined me. I went to a male, and he said to me, "Are you sure you're not throwing up because you're pregnant?" I know, it's the fuckery is incredible. And even now, like, eating disorders are so taboo in the medical world. A lot of doctors won't see patients, GPs. You know, I auditioned for this reality show, and I had to get all this medical clearance. And I went to 2 GPs who said that they wouldn't do it for me because I had bulimia 12 years ago. you know, a lot of male doctors just don't want to deal with it. So I had really bad experiences with that. And I actually, when I left WAAPA and I came to Sydney, I had a breakdown. Like, I had a mental breakdown. I couldn't function anymore. Like, this is very triggering, but I was throwing up like 8 times a day. And, you know, I was trying to hide it from my housemates. So I would throw up into plastic bags and hide them in my cupboards. And like, I would have bags of vomit in my cupboard. And I didn't tell anyone. Like, I hadn't told anyone for 8 years because I was so embarrassed by it, and it was such a taboo in society. And I broke down and I told my older sister, and she freaked out and said, you have to move home, you have to come here to heal. So I moved to Darwin for 2 years, and I became obsessed with healing, like 24 hours a day, listening to podcasts, researching, meditating, any information I could find on healing trauma, healing eating disorders, rebuilding yourself, reinventing yourself. I was obsessed. Even like my whole wall, every wall in my house had affirmations on it. Like, it was insane, but I mean, it was just so obsessed with healing.
It's so amazing that she was there for you.
Yeah, like she didn't really understand it. She was scared of it. And to be honest, when I moved there, she didn't really know what to do. A lot of people who have families with eating disorders, they don't even know, you know, how to help them. Because a lot of things they say are very triggering, like just stop, you know. But the fact that she told me to move was the best thing that I could have done. And after that, I became vegan. I started working out heaps because I had all this energy in my body. I reclaimed my health. And when I could see the power of my healing in myself, of like taking control of my thoughts and understanding it, it was like I birthed a new part of myself, you know, the part of me that knew I could transform with energy and mindset. And that was the beginning of like the massive healing. Yeah, I think, okay, I read this really interesting thing that said every artist, no matter what work they make, they're telling the same story. Whether it's a song or an art, like visual art or movie, it's the same piece of art through a different medium. And so I was like, what is my piece of art? And I think...
What is your story?
That is, mine is healing. For the rest of my life, no matter what I do, or, you know, whether it's on a big scale or a small scale, the theme and the core of it will be healing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I have to think what is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you are obsessed with?
Love. I don't know. Connection.
Connecting?
Yeah.
For what reason do you like to connect?
I feel like each person is like a universe, and I'm always so curious to see, you know, like, who are you? You know, what is inside, what strange things you like, what you don't like. And I feel like sometimes, you know, even when I'm sad or something, when I see people, I forget about it.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the truth of life, is that a oneness, a connection to everything, right? That's the ultimate truth, I think, is that everything is connected. And, you know, the biggest cause of suicide in any mental health is disconnection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there is another part of it when, you know, the boundaries, right? I feel like, you know, the people pleasing, the trying to be liked. I want to ask you, you know, when we sat down and went through the questions, and I had questions about sexuality, and you said, you know, let's not talk about it. And for me, that question was about the clothes you wear, about your appearance, whereas for you it's so different.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about it. So first, I didn't want to talk about it because I thought you meant, you know, my sexual preference. And for me, I think, let me just quickly touch on that. It's just such a fluid thing that grows and morphs and evolves as I do. You know, it's a spectrum. But what you meant is, you know, my sexuality, the way people perceive, you know, let's break that down. What is sexuality in the way it's being perceived? It's a woman selling her sex, right? In the most basic terms. And I think that in this patriarchal society, you know, through the male gaze, whatever a woman does is valued on how attractive or how sexual she is, you know, how appealing she is through the male gaze. And a part of my reclamation of self, of body, of woman, of artist is to completely diminish any judgments I have about how other people perceive me, especially men. However I dress, however I move through the world, the core of it is what makes me happy, what I enjoy doing. You know, I love my body as part of a reclamation of health, as part of a reclamation of self. I love my flesh and I love playful clothes. Yeah. I always say that as a woman, I've reclaimed my inner child. You know, and what does my inner child wants to wear colorful clothes, she wants to wear short shorts, she wants to wear little tops. It's just part of me owning myself. I think that I wish for every woman, every femme, every marginalized body to have that freedom of expression. Like everything I do is based on my desires and my needs and absolutely nothing to do with other people's perception, especially the male gaze and the patriarchy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you in that journey?
How am I? I think I'm I'm still deeply programmed, as you say, probably. I don't know. Sometimes when I told you I got that job, right, at university.
Yes.
And, you know, before the first day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear something, you know, professional, but also dial it down. Like I did my nails before that, right? And I wanted to do red. And I didn't do red because I thought it would be too, like, not provocative in even sexual way, but it's going to be too loud.
Do you not want to be seen?
That's the thing, right? I want to be seen, but then I'm so afraid
of how people are perceiving you.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, you know I love a good quote. Give me
a good quote.
This quote brought me a lot of freedom, right?
Okay.
What I think of me is what I think you think of me.
Okay, hold on. What I think of me is what I think
you think of me. So many people do things based on what they think people are going to think.
Yeah.
You know, my ultimate goal as a human being in this third dimensional realm, planet Earth, is freedom.
Yeah.
It's absolutely so painful how much we do things based on what we think other people are going to think of us. It's a waste of time.
My brain understands that, but it's like, I wish there was that switch where it's like, I don't care anymore, but I still do. So.
Oh yeah, it's a daily thing. It's a moment to moment, second to second. Every moment of the day, I am asking myself, how can I find more freedom in my body and my mindset? You know? And I think it's a slingshot effect because as a child, I was so oppressed. I felt so unsafe. I felt so ugly that now as an adult, I'm going for the absolute opposite, you know? It's a slingshot. I'm coming out of the depths of the dark into the pure rainbow, vibrant light of freedom, baby.
Thank God. I want to know how you got there.
You want to know how I got there?
How, you know, if you have all those beliefs in your head and you're like, I'm on a healing journey, I'm meditating, I have the quotes on the walls. I guess it's doing the work. And how was, like?
I think, okay, so when I started healing, right, I started seeing evidence for my power. I started having actual evidence that if I want to do something and I put my mind and my heart and my thoughts and all my energy into it, I will do it.
Okay.
And then the more I started to heal, the more I started to be aware of all the things that held me back. I started to be more aware of the fear thoughts, the programmed thoughts. I started to really listen to the thoughts in my head. You know, you're ugly, you're not good enough, this isn't for you. And I always say that I have a best friend in my head now because I've reprogrammed the voice in my head. You know, they say TV, what program are you watching? Everything's a programming, right? I am so particular with what programs my brain. And I think that's the core of it all. Every woman has an enemy in her brain. Every marginalized body has an enemy in their brain because that's the way they've been programmed to be taught that they're not good enough, or, you know, they're not beautiful enough, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve to take up space. I've reprogrammed those thoughts because I want to be completely in control of my mind and my life and the way I move through the world. And I wish that for everybody, actually. Whenever I go on the street and I talk to people, I say, are you choosing thoughts that serve your life? You know, the more you become aware of the thoughts in your mind, like you had that thought, the red's too much. Where did that come from?
Now I think it's from my mom, because she would be like, you know, you have to be a bit more, you know, when you go see someone, I don't know, even a doctor. Like in Russia, it's very, if you go see a doctor, you dress up, like you dress up properly. I love how here people wear trackies and they just go, you know, like that's freedom for me as well. So like, sometimes I'm like, this is too much. Why do I have to worry about this shit? Like I just wanna, sometimes I don't wanna wash my hair. I don't wanna, you know, do freaking face masks. I just wanna.
Yes. So your mom put that thought in your head. Who put that thought in her head? You know,
probably, well, in
her mother, and then or the society, right?
But it's so in Russia, Second World War, a lot of men were killed, and it's like there is a song, that Russian song, that for every 10 girls there's 9 guys. In reality, it was like for every 10 girls, it's maybe someone is drunk, someone is, you know, maybe 5 guys. So women, I'm coming from society of heavily competing women, not supporting each other. Whereas now it's shifting and women support each other.
Exactly. All for the male gaze. All for a patriarchal structure, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I said before, like, I started to see the evidence to show that I could do the things I wanted to do. Like, if you did paint your nails red and you went to work and you had a great day, that would be evidence to show that you can do what makes you happy and it'll be okay. You know, it's as simple as that. Like, if I want to do something, I do it, and then I have the evidence to show myself that it's going to be okay. But a lot of people don't even feel confident enough to even take the first step to show themselves they can do it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Try it. Next time you want to wear something, just wear it. You know, and then when you have a negative thought about it, ask yourself, where did that thought come from? Am I choosing that thought? You wouldn't choose to think those things about yourself. You know, you have a desire to wear something because you want to have fun, you want to play, you want to express yourself, you want to feel beautiful as a woman. And all those negative thoughts, somebody else put them there. You didn't choose them. And if you did, you better choose a better thought.
Okay. About your show, the one when you go on the street and you meet people and you ask
my
them
street interviews, my TikTok, Mel Ree TV, baby. Yes.
So, how do you feel? Do you always feel so confident? So it doesn't bother you at all to come up to strangers and like shake them a bit, in a sense of, you know, bringing the best out of them?
Well, the reason I started doing that is because I become aware that I'm amazing at it. Because, okay, so I have my show Revolution Renegade, right?
Yep.
I'm
coming.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Marsha Ford.
Yes.
Meraki Arts Bar.
Yes.
I've got one tonight and tomorrow night as well. And, you know, I just started doing that, started hosting, and people were like, wow, we really love the way you interact with people, the way you make people feel. And I started getting more evidence that I was really good at that. So every show that I did, You know, my intention was to connect more with each individual person and fill them up, make them feel good when they left. And I realized that it's just something that I'm really, really good at because I do that for myself. Because I'm really good at making myself feel good. Because I'm really good at making myself feel motivated. And therefore, I can do it for other people, right? It starts with yourself first.
Yeah.
And then when TikTok came around, everyone was like, you need to get on TikTok, yada, da, da, da. And I was like, I don't want to sit in my room and make videos by myself all day. What I want to do, like what you want to do, I want to connect with people. Yeah. I want to play with people. I want to give them inject them with some love vibrations. And it's so easy for me, it is, because I don't have enemy in my head. I don't have any judgments in my head saying that people think this, that, and that about you. So that when I interact with people, you know,
they can... It's very free.
Yeah. And I know how to make like strangers feel comfortable instantly. I make them laugh.
Yes.
You know, I fill them up with love. Yeah, it's easy for me. I love it.
Tell me about that, the performance, Revolution
Renegade?
Yeah. What is it like?
Okay, so should we go back to when I first started poetry? Because that's the beginning of the story.
Okay, let's do it.
So when I healed myself from bulimia, I came back to Sydney. I would go to sleep at night and all I could think about was performing. Like, I would cry myself to sleep thinking, I know in my heart I'm a performer, you know. My friends were doing commercials, my friends were doing theatre, my friends were doing film and TV, and I just hated myself because they were doing all the things I wanted to do and I wasn't doing it. And one of my friends had her own theatre company and she was featuring at Word in Hand, which used to be run by Candy Royalle, who was this amazing, iconic, revolutionary spoken word poet. And it was the first time I'd been introduced to spoken word and the first time I met Candy. And I randomly wrote a poem because my friends were featuring and I was like, I want to perform, of course.
Yeah.
And I got up and performed and Candy pulled me aside after and was like, sister, you need to do this. Come to my event and I'm going to be your mentor. And I was like, what? She was an angel. Like Maya Angelou used to say, try and be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. She was a rainbow in my cloud at that time. And I started going to all the Word in Hands, which was have you heard of Red Rattler Theatre?
No.
It's in Marrickville. It's a really iconic underground arts venue.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. So all of the most amazing underground artists from Sydney went through there, you know. It's like a rite of passage.
Okay.
So that's where Word in Hand used to be. And Candy had cancer and she knew she was going to die. I didn't know she was going to die, because she wasn't vocal about it, because she was so active in being a mentor and a leader. And she just wanted to continue that work. And so she told me that I had to start hosting the event. And I was terrified. I'd never hosted before, but she really inspired me and mentored me and motivated me. And so I started doing it and I hosted 2 events and then she passed away. And the whole team was like, are you going to keep doing it? And I was like, yeah, okay. And that was like being trained in a ring of fire. I made so many mistakes. You know, I fumbled. I was always sweaty. My heart was racing.
I'm sweating now. I'm sweating and I'm like, am I going to leave like a little thing on your couch?
Oh, that's okay. Do you need the aircon on?
No, it's all right.
And I wish I had a fan for you.
It's okay.
Yeah. But a whole year of doing that, I became really good at it. And then I just got another opportunity to start my own poetry event at the Giant Dwarf Theatre, which unfortunately...
I did hear about this one.
Yeah, but during COVID, it had to get closed down because they didn't have enough money to keep it afloat. But they just gave me a night and I started putting on like POC and queer hip-hop artists, poets, storytellers, and it just started to get a community and started to be known for like a really open revolutionary space where we could talk about difficult ideas and important ideas, and it just grew there. Then I went to Darling Host Theatre and then I started getting employed by big festivals to put on Revolution Renegade. So yeah, it just naturally grew, and that's literally where I cut my teeth as a host and like somebody, I call it energy conducting, right?
How many years of journey with poetry, that is?
So with hosting, probably like 4 years. But
How
actually,
often?
like once a month, sometimes twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah. And even during lockdown, I did it online. And I raised a lot of money, like, because during lockdown, Fiji had a really bad time with COVID. So I did all Pacifica lineup. I called it Fire Up for Fiji, and we all did amazing performances in our home with lights and everything. We raised like $3,000.
Wow.
And yeah, I just started really loving and understanding that I was really good at holding space with community. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? I've never raised money until this the Ukrainian war started. I have a friend there. We met in 2007, I think, and she has a kid who's 5. She doesn't have a partner, and she has a mom who had diabetes, and her feet were cut out. They amputate her feet.
Wow.
to help her body, I guess. And I just felt so horrible, and I didn't know what was happening, and I posted about it, and I said, can we help? And I raised about $1,100. And
how did you do it?
I just asked people if they want to donate, and because some people were donating to Ukraine. For me at that time, it was like, I want to help this particular person that I know, but I felt strange asking for money even for someone else. Did you ever have that?
No.
Good. And that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's why I want to learn from you. As we learn from different people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always say that, like, we are the accumulation of everyone who's ever loved us. All the beautiful souls who come onto our journey, and we say, I like this about you, I like that, I'll keep that. That's staying with me, but I don't need it, so I need to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with back to the poetry.
Yeah.
So I'm coming with my friend.
Yay.
On the 4th of March. And what is it? So is it people who wrote their poems,
Yes.
or is it just if someone just want to speak about some topic, they come out and say it? What is it?
Well, it's a space to share your story in however medium you want to share. Some people sing. It's mostly spoken word.
Okay.
It's sometimes storytelling. But it's really just a space for all of us to share a part of ourselves. And I think the reason it's special is because, I always go in with the intention to have a deep connection to everybody there. And obviously that collective connection is powerful. And I say in Australia, the closest thing that most people get to spirituality is live art venues, right? Because that's what you do when you go to church or you go to, a mosque or something. Everybody opens their heart, everybody is vulnerable, and there's stories being told. And I say this, it's like spoken word is like the people's church. Like, we go there together and we listen, and we connect and we heal each other by receiving each other. So, but yeah, essentially it's just storytelling night. But the caliber of artists is always amazing because, it's a community of people that we've been around for so long, and we've been doing this for a long time, and we're all established artists. And then it's beautiful because all the new people can come through and share a stage with the established artists. Yeah, it's really special. I can't wait for you to experience it.
I'm so excited about it.
Yes.
So how many minutes, because I saw there's 10 participants, right?
Yeah.
Who register beforehand,
Yeah.
and you choose them. And I'm like, maybe one day I can do
Yes,
it.
you should. It's so special.
You're so brave. But I'll get there. And so how many minutes do they get?
Well, I always say it's a 3-minute limit in it. I always say it's a 3-minute limit. But people get up there and they love the sound of their own voice. So after about 5 minutes, I'm like, you got to get off.
This is awesome.
Yeah, but it's a 3-minute limit.
Okay.
But I usually don't kick people off. However, I have had people come up and just use it as a therapy session. And, you know, obviously I have to get them to get off. And I've also had people come up and say really inappropriate things.
Oh my God. I can feel that.
I know, but I love those. I love the drama.
Yeah. Well, everyone loves the drama.
I know. And I've also had nights where like the audience will scream at the person. For example, okay, this is deep and problematic in so many ways. I had this amazing older trans woman, so an elder in the community, and the way I was raised, like I respect my elders down, purely because you've lived life for so much longer. I respect elders, you know, and it's not really a thing here in Australia, right? In Australian culture. So obviously every time she said she wanted to perform, I would go out of my way to make sure she could perform. Okay. She's Caucasian, she's white. One night she came out, girl, she had clapping sticks, Aboriginal clapping sticks.
Right.
Oh my God. First red flag, like, darling, you're not Aboriginal. Second thing she started doing, she's a trans woman, right? So she doesn't have a womb. She started talking about abortion and why it's wrong. And it felt like old school Shakespeare days, like the whole audience was screaming at her. Get off, you have no right to talk about my rights, my room, you know. And then she had her whole group of friends there who was screaming at the audience. I had to get up and stop her. And then there was like a big, like this brawl. Everyone was like, this isn't the revolution if you're gonna stop people from talking. But I had to explain to her, like, my number one rule is if it's not your story, your lived experience, don't speak on it.
Yeah.
That's my number one rule. Like, we can only speak of what we've experienced. Otherwise, everything is just, you know, a subjective guess.
Isn't it amazing how it's like a snippet of society? Because, you know, some people are trying to decide if women should have abortions or not. It's like, so this person going there.
Yeah.
It's like, I agree with you. It's not her business to talk about it.
It's amazing. But that's what privilege does. You know, people who have always been in a position of privilege don't understand that for a lot of us who've been marginalized, our story and our voice is the only tool, the only right we've had. You know, so don't you dare take that from us. Like I always say, I'm so good at speaking because for so many years, all I had was my voice. You know, and I sharpened that tool until it was sparkly. Yeah.
Do you, when I was, you know, getting ready for this, I read or heard that you didn't feel like you belonged.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like you belong now?
I feel like absolutely, because I create community. I create belonging. I create belonging in my space, in my mind, in my heart. Trust me, every time I go out onto the street, I'm reminded every day that I'm different. You know, people always have something to say about my physical appearance. People always have something to say about my hair. And they think they're just paying me a compliment. But what they don't realize is there's an ingrained belief that if somebody is different to you, you have the right to comment on their physical appearance. And what that does to the person, it otherizes them. Oh, you're different, you're not from here, you're not like us. So I'm reminded everywhere I go that I don't belong, so to speak. And when I go to Papua New Guinea, when I'm amongst Papua New Guinean people, they detest the way I speak. They detest the way I move because I represent Western culture. But like I said, I create belonging, you know, and me and my friends always say, we are the future elders. So wherever I go, I take up space and I own in my body that I belong there. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how you say when you go to Papua New Guinea, you represent the Western? I feel it really resonated with me, the not belonging, because in Russia, like, that's like immigration story. You don't belong there, but I don't belong here in some way. Like, you know, recently the diversity has started being celebrated, right? But I feel like I am different, but then at the same time I'm not different enough, or you know, I feel like what's celebrated now is different appearance, but the language, I don't know, I had this thing with my voice, with the speaking in generally, that my language is too different. Like I was like, can people understand what I say? Is my accent too strong? Is that was a thing for a long time as well.
Do you feel like you belong?
I think I'm trying.
Yeah.
But that trying to belong came from the wrong place. It was like trying to look or act a bit similar.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I have to belong here. I have to find out what's inside to first belong here, and then people feel that, and yeah.
Absolutely, you're right. And I think, do you know the word diaspora?
Yeah.
And the original meaning of the word diaspora is to scatter seeds. So we've been scattered, right? Which means we don't have any deep roots embedded into the earth where we are. However, what we do have is the community. That's why I always talk about community. You know, you have the Russian community, you have the female community, you have the creative community, you have the acting community, you have the mother community. And community means to commune, right? Together. So I always say to people who are feeling alone or like they don't belong, go out and gather with people who represent any part of you, because it's in community we find our belonging and our healing. You know, it's so important, especially for us as diaspora, who don't have those deeply embedded roots. That's why, like, you know, I really wanted to come on your podcast because you're a woman and I support all women, you know, even if your beliefs aren't like mine, because we have to commune, we have to have community of women supporting each other so that we can have deeply embedded roots within our energies and our hearts.
Thank you so much.